Alright, so, welcome to, what part is it? Part 4? I don't know, yeah, part 4, maybe. Well, it's the part where we finally get to the collectibles, okay? So, the part where we get to this, oh my god, I forgot to turn the sound down. Anyway, so the part where we gonna work on, so loud. These, okay, colliding and collecting, okay? Now, this is not going to be that straightforward, okay? It's gonna be the trickiest tutorial so, oh my lord, that was loud. Trickiest tutorial so far. Okay, I've gone ahead and saved you guys the pain of seeing my Unity load. So yeah, if you guys still getting used to it, just click on Unity Help and then click on your project. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna maximize my Unity. So the reason I said it's not gonna be a straightforward one, that's because we have to detect collision now. Okay, if I click on the movement, so we have to detect collision where we can collide with these. I think the red ones are horizontal baddies, and then we can collide with the vertical baddies. That's that one. Okay, and also then we're gonna have the coin. Okay, now. Typically, I think everyone would do that. They would use layer mask to detect collisions, which I'm not actually going to do. If you don't know what layer mask is, don't worry about it. I'm just gonna actually use something which would make sense to anyone who's just starting out. Because with the movement script we have used ifs and else ifs, so I'm just going to use something. It's going to be in relation to layers. We are going to be using layers, however it's not going to be the way you'd normally do, rather in a bit of a naive way, okay? But it would get us started and would give us an understanding of how these things work. Also, while I was playing the game, should have mentioned the coins appear after a while, okay? I made that intentionally because I wanted to show you guys a couple of things with it. One, that how we can have objects, so like you can see how we have baddies. This baddie is an object itself, but I want the coins would not be an object by itself. It's going to be a child object, okay? It's going to teach us a lot of concepts. Sorry about this long intro, just a lot of things to go over today, okay? For the moment, not really going to worry about the baddies. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to disable the baddies, okay? So, by the way, this is not how we're going to create the baddies anyway. So, I'm just going to click on the baddies and just disable them. So, you can just click on here at the top, on the right hand side of your screen. You have the inspector tab. You can just uncheck that one and the baddies would disappear. I'll just do that for all of my baddies for the moment. Okay, later I'll make them prefabs. We'll get to that, okay? So, don't worry about it right now. Right, what we do want is a sprite. So I'm going to go to my assets and then sprites. Just a quick reminder, if you somehow stumble upon this video without watching the first 3, this is not a tutorial for any sort of uni projects or any sort of like anything you have to learn in a short amount of time. It's a really chilled video where I just go over every single detail, allowing users to learn what we are doing, okay? Aimed towards children or anyone who hasn't done Unity or C# scripting before. Okay, with that in mind, so please no hate comments. It's gonna be a really chilled tutorial, okay? Right, so from the sprites, sprites folder, we'll create another sprite. Remember guys, these are not the final sprites. This is just for there, so I can see the objects. We will use custom sprites later towards the end of the series, okay? For now, I'm just going to create a tile, maybe. Let's just give it a diamond shape for my coin. Okay, I'm just going to call this coin sprite. Should have named the sprites accordingly, but yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, so that's going to be my coin sprite. Let's create an empty game object. So click on the hierarchy. Left click that is and create empty. You normally just do create sprite, but again I'm breaking every single step down so you guys can see how they are done steps, okay? So you have a very good understanding. So if you watch another tutorial where like more advanced tutorials, guys who do it like a really fast manner, which is fair actually, you would know how it's done, okay? So you won't be missing out on steps. Cool. I think I'm going to call this object coin. Good practice is to set all of its x, y, and z to 0, 0, and 0. Okay, so it's there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add, hopefully you guys remember by now and getting a hang of it, we're going to add a component to this coin object. So we're going to click on add component, and the thing we add is called sprite renderer, which allows us to add a sprite. Okay, you can add these sprites or custom sprites. We're going to do custom sprites later. Okay, for now we're just going to drag in coin, the diamond sort of shape that we created, to this none section, none, yeah, where it says none, sprite none, there, and there you go. Now as these are my coin sprites, I'm just going to make them really tiny, 0.3 and 0.3. Okay, maybe give them a nice little, nice bright color, purple, blue, I don't know. There you go. We can actually randomize the colors, you know, with codes. We can do a lot of heaps. Like, as this is a beginner's tutorial, we can do a lot of simple, lot of cool yet very simple stuffs. Okay. Although I won't have time for that in this tutorial, though. It's going to be a really long tutorial. Okay, so that's my coin. Now, what we are aiming for here is to have this player, whenever they collide with this object, okay, we get to remove this. Now, I'm going to break this down into steps, okay? So the collision happens when you have these objects, these game objects. You have a player object, then you have a coin object, when they have colliders on, okay? So without colliders, the Unity engine can't really detect collision, okay? So you can see at the moment, there's basically no way. Even if I go to a script and do a collision function, let me quickly show you guys if I do that. So if I go to script, and let's say go to movement script, because that's already been created. By the way, don't do this because we're going to create a separate script anyways. So even if I do a collision event on my player, which if my Unity Visual Studio loads, okay, don't do this because we're not going to do that. As usual, I'm going to break everything down, so I will show you why we need to add a collider. So if I do an OnCollision enter, okay, this is a 2D, OnCollision 2D enter, was it? I think that's the one for 2D, doesn't matter. Even if I use this and destroy an object, okay, destroy collision.gameObject. So this is how you normally do, this is the code really to destroy an object, okay, although we're not going to destroy any object. Even if I run this, you won't. There's a good possibility you'd see an error because I'm not quite sure if I have named this correctly. The one that came up previously was a 3D collision. Obviously, we're not doing 3D. Okay. So even if I run this, right, you won't really see any sort of anything happening really. That's primarily because of. I'm gonna get rid of this code. Okay. That's primarily because of there's no collision. Unity can't tell where the objects are right now. So as a first step towards detecting collision, we need to add colliders on both the objects. Okay, so let's start with the player. So click on the player object and then click on the add component button. Let's add a collider. So just type up collider and then you'd have some nice little options here. Okay, you can have box collider, capsule collider, circle collider. Now, the important thing to note here is you don't necessarily want the most appropriate collider. What I mean by that is you want to go with the collider that serves the purpose but is not that critical or complex for the computer to calculate. Okay, so go with the simplest collider you think of, even for complex meshes. Okay, so trade-off, you don't want your computer to be slowing down detecting collision. So one of the important things, you can see how it says box collider. Is it visible? I think it's quite visible. Okay, you have box collider and box collider 2D. So although Unity uses two separate engines for 3D and 2D, you do have the names here, which sometimes may confuse you. Like in scripting, especially, which you saw, I just typed the wrong thing up in a minute ago. So yeah, so select any collider with a 2D tag on it. So I'm going to go with, as this is my player with a circular shape, I'm going to go with the circle collider. Alright, so the moment you add this component, you'd see how let me just double click on the player so you guys can see better. Okay, so if I just turn this collision off, you can't really see anything, can you? Okay, let's just make the oh, holy smolies, it's really big. Okay, let's just make it to 1, the radius. Okay, so the radius of the circular shaped player object. Okay, so that is my collider. Okay, so you can resize the radius, but like it normally comes with the default side. Default normally fits simple objects quite nicely. Okay, so I think I'm gonna leave it to 0.5. And also you move it right or move it left using the X offset, and up and down using the Y offset. It helps especially if you are making sort of trick objects. I'll just leave that up to your imagination. Okay, right, physics material, we are not covering this at all in this tutorial, in this entire series. It relates to how you can make characters bouncy, friction stuff. We're not doing that here at all, so let's not worry about that. isTrigger is a flag. Okay, yeah, just think of this as a flag. I think we used booleans couple of I think last tutorial as well, boolean which is either true or false. So isTrigger, when you set it to on, when you set it to true, or like tick this box, this collider object would listen to, okay, would listen to any sort of event, that is whenever your player passes through any object. Okay, and this is important. We are not gonna use the collision that I just showed you guys, the onCollide event. That's because I'm gonna actually take the physics out of the equation. So there's not gonna be any sort of physics in terms of the physics engine of of Unity. Okay, it's just going to be whatever we do. Okay, for now that explanation would just have to do, I guess. We can take the control out of Unity's physics engine, and that's what we're going to do. Okay, and whenever we do that, we need to set this isTrigger to true, so we have total control. Now let me quickly give you guys an example when we want to do that. So in this sort of example, let's say we have baddies and stuff and other characters. Why are they moving together? You know, I have actually literally no idea why my player and my coin, they're moving together. That's like the funniest thing ever. Okay, so let's say you have other characters that you want them to interact. However, oh, I'm moving the scene. All right, I was right clicking. You want them to collide, okay, but not do any sort of physics reaction. So you don't have them bouncing off or blocking each other, okay. In cases like that, you have to take physics out of the equation and just have complete control, okay, of whatever you want to do. You're going to do it using code, not anything from Unity. So whenever you want to do that, you have to have this isTrigger turned on. So we're working on the player. We have added the collider. Circle is my circle collider is the one that I've gone with for my player. There's one other thing that we need to add to the player. That is a rigid body. Okay, so let's add another component. It's a rigid body 2D. Okay, and here's what I've been blabbing about. That taking the control out of the physics engine of Unity. That is, you want to set this body type from dynamic to kinematic. Okay, let's just leave it to dynamic. Okay, for the moment, because I want to launch the game and I want to see some unexpected behaviors. That is not unexpected, but like rather funny. So when you do dynamic, it just it uses physics engine. Okay, you can just totally see the demonstration. I don't want it. I want complete control over the player, at least for the moment. I may switch it back to dynamic later, depending on how hard the tutorial gets, the series gets. For now, I'm just gonna set it to kinematic. Okay, so when you do kinematic, you can see how these fields like mass, gravity, everything disappears. Okay, so it's basically when you do kinematic, it just tells you that, okay, even if I'm detecting collision, I'm not going to do anything. The physics engine, that's the physics engine telling you that even if I detect collision, I'm not going to do anything. It's up to you. Okay, It's up to you to decide what you want to do. And there you have this isTrigger part coming into play. That's because there's this event called OnTrigger enter, okay, and you use this to detect collision in those scenarios. All right, we're not going to do that in the movement script. We're going to do we're going to create a separate script for that. So rigid body, that would be almost, that's about it for the rigid body for this tutorial, really, for this series. As I said earlier, we're not going to do any complex stuff with rigid body. It's yeah, you can do a lot of stuff. So funny, not funny, like really complex stuff with rigid body. We're just gonna set it to kinematic, and that would be it. Okay. So the important part here that we have for the moment, we have this set to kinematic. So rigid body has kinematic, and the collider is trigger. Okay. So whenever anything enters its radius, it's gonna give us a trigger message. Okay. It's gonna trigger the trigger event, and we will decide what to do. All right, now let's shift our focus to the coin. Okay, so let's go to the coin actor, and we're gonna add another component, obviously. So sprite render is all good, but we're gonna add a component which would be the collider. Okay, so let's type up collider, and as it's a diamond, right? I think I'm gonna go with, let me just move it first. I think I'm gonna go with the box collider. Probably that may not be the best collider. I don't know. I'm just gonna go with box collider because I used circle collider already. Okay, it's just two different things you guys can have a look at. So again, it has the offset. You can move the collider. Let me just zoom in on it. So you can move the offset. Okay, using X and Y. I'm just gonna set it to 0. You can increase the size in terms of its X, that is width, and Y, that is height. Okay, I'm just set it to 1 and 1. Pro tip, that's a designer tip, that is anything that is good in your game, you would want to have the collision a bit bigger so your players don't get frustrated if they just miss out by a slight unit. Okay, so they don't get frustrated, and anything that is bad, maybe the baddies have their collisions a bit shrinked, so they don't die even if they haven't collided. Okay, designer tip, not really important at the moment. Right, what is important though, we have to set the isTrigger true here as well. Okay, so they're both triggers. Now, some of you might have gone ahead and added the rigid body, which is kind of unnecessary in this instance because we only add, if I go back to my player, we only add rigid body to a collider actor, which is gonna move. Okay, so Unity kind of acts in this way, really. So it's going to be like, hey, if this actor is moving and you have the collider added and not the rigid body, I am not going to guarantee that I calculate the collision properly. Okay, so any actor, any object that moves needs to have a collider and rigid body attached for you to detect the collision properly. Now, if I'm talking about the coin is not going to move. It's just going to be a steady actor. Okay, so there's no need for any physics interaction here. We can just add the collider. So our player can receive a trigger event. Obviously, our coin has the isTrigger on as well, so we can script here as well. But yeah, so any any object that is not moving doesn't require the rigid body. Okay, can just have a collider, and the Unity would be able to tell you if anything has passed over it or not. All right, so that's the first step of detecting collision. I know you guys are maybe quite keen to get into scripting, but there's one other little thing that we need to address before we can get to scripting. That is layers. Okay. Now I know at the start I said I'm not going to use the layer mask, but we are going to use layers. Okay, it would give you guys a quick introduction to layer mask. Okay, in a way which doesn't involve using bitwise operation, which I kind of hate. So yeah, as this is a beginner's tutorial, I really don't want to get into bitwise operation. So layers is a really good way to optimize. Optimize your game. And that is because if I just go to edit and project settings, and here if I go to my physics 2D, remember we're doing a 2D game, Okay, so all the 2D physics here. You can set your gravity here as well. Right, none of these are important at the moment. What we're going to talk about is this. Okay, so these are the by default layers in Unity. Okay, so when I say layer, I mean, how to explain it? So when I say layer, I mean which layer the objects exist. Why is it important for us, or how is it relevant for us? Well, we can use this to detect our collision easily, okay, and allow the computer to do less calculations. At the moment, the computer is looking for all of these, so calculating all of these collisions. So if you think about a simple example, if you don't have to do a lot of maths, okay, so they're unnecessary maths, you can just avoid them. You would want to avoid them, right? So in our case, games, in any sort of game, you don't want unnecessary calculations happening. So what you want to do is you want to first turn off all these collisions. Okay, so you don't want to detect any collisions between these layers. All right, that is because we're going to create our own custom layer. Okay, so yeah, so edit, project settings, and physics 2D. Turn off all the collisions, so the computer is not like checking actively for any collisions there. Rather, what we're going to do here is we're going to come to the player first. Okay, and then in the inspector tab, I'm just going to minimize all of these so it's easy for you guys to see. The layer tab here, the top right, which says default, you're just going to click on that and add a layer. Okay, now this list up to 7, you can't really do anything about it. From the user layer 8, you can add a layer. I'm just going to call this player. So this is going to be my player layer, and my player is going to be on the player. Okay, so that's it. Just press enter and that's done. Just click on the player again if you want to, and you can change the default to player. So just recapping, we have clicked on the player, then from the layer we have added a player layer, okay, and then we have set the player to be on the layer of player. Man, that's hard to say. Okay, we're going to do the same thing for the coin. So we're going to click on the coin actor, coin object, and then here in the layer section, we're going to add another layer. This is going to be for a coin. Okay, hopefully you guys can see how it helps us out. Okay, so I'm going to click on the coin again and then change the default to coin. Now let's open up our project settings again. So edit and project settings. Here again, it turns everything on by default, so I'm going to turn everything off because I don't want unnecessary collisions, calculations. Okay. Now, what you do want is to detect collision between. So it says if you hover over it, it will say which collision, collision it's going to detect. I don't need to. There's not going to be two main players. There's no need for me to detect player-player collision. So I'm just going to avoid that. Rather, I'm just going to click on this box that does player and coin collision, and that's really it. Okay, it saves your computer a lot of calculation, a lot of computational power. Okay, saves your computer a lot of computational power. You're just going to detect the collision between player and coin layer for the moment. Okay, we're going to do the exact same thing with the baddies, but as coin is one entity, I wanted to start off with this one. Okay, cool. So, without, I need to create another empty object, but I'm going to do that later because if I keep talking longer, I think you're just going to hate me. So, let's go ahead and add a script, but this coin object is not done yet, by the way. There's going to be another object that this character is going to be a child of. Right, for the moment, I'm just going to get started with the script. So click on the scripts folder. Let's add another script, create. I'm going to call this, so I have a C# script, I'm going to call this a collision script. So this script would be responsible for handling any sort of collision that happens with the main player. Okay, so the main player colliding with the baddie, main player colliding with any sort of coin entity on the scene. Okay, so all of that would be calculated in this script. Okay, so let's double click on the collision script, and this is going to be it's not going to be a really short script, okay, to say the least, because remember we do have sounds, we do have scores, so score relates to UI as well. They're going to come in later tutorials, not this one. However, even this one would have a bit of coding. So start update, I'm going to keep them. Maybe we should delete them because I'm not going to be using them today. But later we will be using them. Okay, so for now I'm just gonna I don't know, yeah, just delete the start and update. Okay, what I do need is OnTrigger enter 2D. Okay, that, my friend, is what we need. So OnTrigger enter 2D. Let's get that in. Now, what this does is it gives an opportunity to show you what it does. Okay, first thing I'm going to show you guys is to log collision. Okay, so debug.log collision. Collision. Okay, so I wonder if I'm spelling collisions right. If I save my work, I'm going to go back to my player if I can. Okay, so player, add component, and I'm going to add the component which I just added, which is the collision script. Okay, so add your collision script. Now, let's launch our game. Let's look at our console. Okay, so you can see how whenever I pass over the thingy, it gives me collision warnings. I mean, not warnings, prints. Oh my god, why would be green? You know what? You guys can give print warnings as well. You can just need to do log error. I think something like that. Not important. Okay, so that my friend works. So it does detect the collision. So a quick code would be to just remove the coin. The way you do that is by using this collision parameter. Okay, so collision this code here. Okay, so it gives a reference. Okay, so it gives a reference collision. You know what? I should have kept my baddies on so I could have shown you guys the collision gives you a reference to whichever actor you are colliding. Let me actually quickly give you guys another demonstration. Okay, don't hate me for this. I'm just trying to have the have you guys understand every bit of what you're doing. I struggled quite a bit. The motivation for me to do a tutorial like this is because I struggled quite a bit. There are ample YouTube tutorials that are amazing, but not quite if you're just starting out. Okay, so if I just do collision.gameObject.name, you'd see what I mean. So if I just save, not that, well, it's good to know that I'm still live and I've been talking for 27 minutes, which I apologize for. Okay, so if I now collide with my coin, you can see how the game object's name gets printed. Now that would have worked. So if we had baddies, it would have detected collision for the baddie, given they have colliders on. Okay, what I'm trying to get at is collision is a reference to any item that you pass through, any item that gives you a trigger event. Okay, that sends a trigger event. All right, so collision is not a game object, by the way. Obviously, it's a collider. So what I mean by that is it's basically this sort of, not that, that's a script. So it's a collider, okay? So it can be 2D, box collider, whatever collider, just a collider 2D, okay? And all the box colliders, circle colliders, they're all just children of this collider. So collision is just a collider, and every collider obviously has a game object attached to. For example, the coins collider is attached to a game object called coin. The player collider is attached to a game object called player. So that's what we did. Just do collision, which is this one, okay? Dot game object. So the object it's attached to, and dot name. Now what we need to do though, obviously don't need to print the name. We just need to remove it. Collision dot game object. I think I'm missing something. I'm just gonna do destroy actually, which is not the final code. Just wanted to show you guys that we can make it interactive. Okay. So destroy. So if you do collision, what do you guys think? If I just do this, would this work? Quick, not trivia, obviously, quick quiz. Okay, so pause the stream and then think about it, okay? So pause the stream, then come back and see if your answer matches the result. Okay, I'm just gonna have my coin on my inspector. For those of you who have answered, guessed, have a look at the collider. The collider disappears. Okay. So what really is, I'm just going to do it again so you guys can see. So the coin object obviously has a box collider. The player moves over the coin and the collider object disappears. What that means is we're just destroying the collider that is attached to the coin. We don't want that. We want to destroy the coin object. Okay, so the collision.gameObject. If I save my work and launch, and yeah, if I launch, you'd see how it can now remove the coin. Okay, so that's the object. However, we do not really want to do this. Because in my game, the game that I did, and there's a specific reason I did it this way, because it gives us a way to look at a bit more complex mechanics, if you will. See how it reappears after a while. Now, there's no way for us to do that using this. Okay, there may have been. Is there? I mean, no straightforward way. Okay, so what we need to do, and this is something that is quite common, not in terms of reactivating a coin, but overall in Unity and game dev. Okay, to have empty objects sitting on your level and spawning items. Okay, having empty objects sitting on your level and spawning items. Imagine having empty objects in front of your player to just maybe, if your player is a spaceship, you can have it spawn fire. Bullets. Okay, so what I mean by that is, imagine you want to fire from the player, but not right from the player, just in front of the player. Okay, so you can have an empty object there. Obviously, you can do maths to figure out how many offsets you want to create the bullet the front, but you can use empty objects to do it easily. Now, so that's why I really wanted to introduce this empty object concept, where we use them and actually implement something with it, okay, in our game. So what we actually need to do is we want to do collision.gameObject.setActive. Okay, SetActive to false. All right, this does not really remove or destroy the object. It just to be honest, wait, let me just show you. So if I go over the player, you can see the difference. It still is in the hierarchy. Okay, so it's still in the memory. It hasn't freed up the memory. And this becomes handy really when you have a lot of objects and you want to do object pooling. Again, another complex concept. Not going to go into that, but this is really important to know how you can do this. Okay, it really helps to know about them. Okay, so we're not destroying, and so we're not creating and destroying objects on the fly. Rather, we're just going to have a set of objects on the scene, and we're going to be deactivating and reactivating them as we like, giving us a better performing game. Okay, in a game like this, it really does not matter, but it's something that I felt like you guys should know, even though this is a really beginner's tutorial. How long have I been blabbing? Okay, 32 minutes. I promise I'm going to try and wrap it up really soon. Soon. Okay, so this coin object, as I said, is not going to be on its own. By the way, quick note, this script has a lot of codes. This is not it for collision codes. Okay, we're obviously going to have baddies as well, and when we do baddies, baddie collisions, you'd see how the layers come into play. Okay, we're going to check for layers and then collide, because think about this would happen with everything. Okay, as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and do this. Let's have this as a bug in our game. Okay, it's good to have bugs in our game. So let's go to a vertical baddie. Let's re-enable that. Okay, so what I did was I clicked on the vertical baddie, and then here the inspector at the top right, we just re-enabled it. Okay, and if I can see where the heck is my baddie? Oh, it's in my player. Okay, my ginormous player is covering my. This is why I need to use mouse. I use mouse just for the sake of this tutorial. I just decided why I'm not going to use a mouse. Why? I don't know, man. Don't ask me. Okay, so there's my baddie. Now what I'm going to do, and let's do this together. You guys also go to your vertical baddie. For the moment, disable the vertical movement script. Okay, disable the script, so it's not going to move, so it's easy for us to hit, and add the collision event, a collider. Okay, so add a collider. This definitely has a box collider, obviously, because it's rectangular in shape, and you can see it fits in nicely. Really, the vertical baddie fits in nicely. You don't need to really increase the offset at all. Okay, So now if I launch, remember my main player does have the collision script enabled, which would set active, so deactivate any object the player collides with. Okay, so if I go and collide with my, what just happened, my friend? Oh, okay, forgot. We need to change the layer. So if I go to my vertical body, and let's give this vertical body a layer of coin. Okay, when we add the body layer, it would also have to be activated, but the principle would still be the same. The main problem would be no matter what I do, it would remove it. Okay, so you can imagine adding a body layer, okay, and just setting the body to that layer. However, you'd still have the problem. Okay, you know what, let's just do that quickly so we all can actually visualize the problem. So on the vertical body, let's add a layer. I'm gonna call it body. Okay, so I'm gonna click back on the vertical body and select the layer to body. Okay, now let's go back to edit, project settings. Okay, I want to select all of them off, turn them off. No need really for them to be working, but obviously we want the player to body collision. Okay, where is that? Okay, player body, that one, player body collision. All right, so player to body, and obviously this vertical body is going to be a trigger, so make sure you have that turned on the vertical body's box collider. If I launch, you'd see what I mean. Okay, and I'm gonna have this like this for the moment. Okay, so it's a bug. I'll let you guys think of what ways you can solve this using the things we have learned, like if we have collided with the body layer, okay, things like that. So try and think about that, but I'm not going to fix that today. Okay, as a matter of fact, I'm just going to disable my vertical body again because I only want to focus on my coin for the rest of the tutorial. Okay, so where's my player? If I can, okay, there's my coin. So as I said, we want to create an empty object. Right click on the hierarchy, create empty. I'm going to rename it to coin parent. Okay, coin parent. Let's reset its position to 0, 0, 0. Although that's let's reset its position to whatever my coin is actually. Okay, so I'm going to drag this over to my coin. Okay. I think there's an easier way to do it. I just actually forgot. Just drag them. I don't know. It doesn't matter. They are kind of like the same spot, so that's good. Okay. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna make this coin a child object of this coin parent. Okay, which is an empty object. You can't really see it, and that's the whole point. You don't want to see that. So you click on the left click on the coin and drag it just on top of the coin parent, and then you'd see there's a drop down coming up, meaning the coin is now a child object of the coin parent. Okay, so if you move the coin parent, you'd also see the child moving, the coin moving by itself as well. Why have we done that? Well, my friends, we have done that to reactivate my coin. So at the moment, when we deactivate a coin, there's literally no way to attach a script on the coin for it to reactivate because everything gets deactivated. But on the coin parent now, we can add a script that can help us reactivate the player. Okay, I have talked for 38 seconds. Give me just 5 more minutes. Hopefully I'll be done. Okay, so let's go back to the scripts folder and let's add another script. So create a C# script. I'm going to call it activate. If I spell it right. We're gonna make them prefabs. Okay, I think you should have. We'll talk about prefabs in a future video. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to drag this activate. Yeah, no dragging because that's just going to confuse us. What we want to do is we're going to add the component, the activate script component, on the coin parent, not the coin itself, but the empty object. Okay, so click on the coin parent. You can see there's just transform. There's nothing to the coin parent, whereas a coin has a collider, a renderer. Coin parent has just a transform, and that's about it. Really, it doesn't really need anything else because everything else is set up in coin. So the coin parent should have the activate script. Okay, so let's add that script in. Hopefully by now you guys can easily add the scripts. Now let's double click on the activate script. and let's activate our friend. Okay, the logic is kind of the same. Okay, so it's kind of the same in terms of the movement of what we did for the baddie. So we're gonna create some private fields. So private, maybe. Okay, I want to randomly activate and deactivate, randomly activate them. It's gonna have private float max. Maybe we can go with 2 seconds. Okay, so that's in seconds. Private float min equals to, oh, that's max, my bad, that'd be min. The first one is min. Max gonna be maybe, I don't know, 30 seconds, I don't know. Okay, we can obviously change this, and I want them to be serialized. Okay, so serialized field. If you want to make them ranges, I don't really mind. I don't want to have ranges on them. So serialized field, so max and min. I need a private timer. Private float timer equals to 0 to keep track of internal time passed. Okay. So yeah, let's have another field. Let's have it here. Serialized field. Would this? No, it shouldn't. Okay, let's have it. I think it would help if it's serialized. What just happened? There's a field called activeSelf. Okay, this is not that. That's what we're gonna use here. Okay, so we can go game object. So when I say game object, it really refers to the game object that the script is attached to. Okay, so how long have I been blabbing for again? 40. Oh my god, it's 41 point. Okay, what did I do? Should I just pause here for, you know what, let's go to the hour mark and finish this item. Okay, so game object would just refer to, where did I go? Okay, there you go. This item, that is the coin parent. Okay, now the reason I've named it parent is because so you guys can have a better understanding. So we need to have an access to the game object's child. Okay, so what we can do is we can do game object dot I think it's called get child. I think I'm pretty sure. Get children, get component children, get component in children. Not that, pretty sure. Game child. Okay, maybe that. I don't know. Let's see. Game object dot. I'm pretty sure there's another easier way to find the child of. Yep. I mean, what was the game object? Why is it not giving me the game object transform dot get child. Okay. All right. Found my child. Okay. Now we can do game object dot transform dot get child and then get the child, the very first child. The thing is though, I have a problem, like a real problem, typing codes up like this. I would much rather have this chunky looking code stored in a variable. Okay. So what I would do is I'm going to create a variable, private, it should be, what's the type of the child? Coin, right? So that's going to be game object. So I'm just going to do private game object. I'm going to call it coin. Okay. And in the start function, we're going to do coin set to, we don't need game object or transform. We can just directly access the transform. Because remember, this transform, so this script is attached to this transform as well. So what I was doing, I was just doing it in, I don't know why I did game object or transform, but like, yeah, you can directly access the transform as well. The idea is you can access the access the game object, you can access the transform. Okay, so transform dot get child, and you can just pass in the index. The thing is, if you are starting out with coding, indexes basically are the numbers, positions where the character, where the actor is, or the object is, and it starts with 0. Okay, so the very first item is at position 0. So what you want to do is get child at 0. Okay, so transform dot get child returns you the component, and you just do game object, and just returns the game object and stores it in the coin. Okay, so transform.getChild.GameObject really gives you the reference to, or the address to this coin character. Now, this is just one item. Imagine having hundreds of coins, so the parents would always return their child's reference. Okay, so yeah, and now we can just come over here and if and go coin dot about the activeSelf that I was talking about, that one. Okay, so coin dot activeSelf equals to, okay, so if it's equals to false, so coin dot activeSelf if it's equals to false, then we're gonna move ahead and turn it on. Wait, am I live? Oh, thank goodness. Yep. My computer shuts, my OBS studio, for some strange reason, would just go off sometimes. So I'd be recording for like 2 or 3 minutes or 5 minutes, and I turn it on, I go and look at it and I'm like, oh, oops, nope, it's not on. So yeah, annoying. So that's why you keep seeing me going back and forth to see if I'm live or not. Okay, so if my coin, that is the child object, is deactivated, okay, we can go to line 2, I mean, not line 2, the second line, and have the curly braces, okay. So if the coin is deactivated, only then we're gonna check for this. So I can just easily drag it over, or I can Control X, go between the brackets and just paste it. Okay. So if the coin is deactivated, we can just and the timer has crossed the active time limit, we can just set the coin activeSelf back to true. Oh, wait, sorry, SetActive. What am I doing? It's too late to code actually in Sydney. Also have a match to watch. So yeah, coin.setActive. We're gonna set it to true. Okay, so this just what it really does. It just resets, reactivates the component. So when it goes gray, it will just come back. Yeah, and just come back. Now, one thing I want to do is just have this active time randomize again. So I'm going to copy this from start and come over here, set the range to whatever it yields. Okay, so whatever it returns, and I'm going to set the timer to 0. Okay, 0F. I hope I haven't missed that. Yep, I have. Oh my lord. F's everywhere. Okay, 30F. You can tell it's late. Although it's not that late, it's 10 p.m. But yeah. Okay, so this resets the timer. Hopefully I haven't made any sort of typo. Let me just give it a quick read. So time increases. If it's deactivated, you check for the timer. Yep. There might have been another way to do it, but yeah, I'm kind of tired, so that is how we're doing it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the debug mode because I like to see my time and everything. So I'm going to click on debug, get rid of the transform, not get rid of, I mean turn it off, and then launch. So the first thing we're looking for is when we play, this thing grays out. See the parent child grays out. What's the amount? So it's 8 seconds. The active time is 8 seconds. My timer, when it reaches that amount, it not only reactivates my thingy, but also what do you call it? It reactivates the coin and it resets the timer. Okay. Now, as we have the if here, that okay, you want to reactivate the coin only if you see the object disabled. Okay. So it doesn't really do anything until you collect it really. So now my activate time is at 28 seconds, which I don't feel like waiting for, and pretty sure you guys don't as well. Okay, so try out get child 1 and 2 and you'll see a lot of errors. Not a lot of, I'm just gonna do 2 and you'll see how it return. You know what, it's already 50 minutes of me talking, so I'm not gonna make you guys sit through that. Yeah, it won't find range 2 and stuff, so child 0 would just return the first item. Okay, have a think about how you can plan out your project to like detect the layer for baddie, detect layer for coin, okay, because I'm really showing you guys with current setup, with the current collision functions setup, every item that you put on your level, given that they are on a layer that can collide with the player, you would collect it, okay, you won't die. So yeah, we'll work on that in the next tutorial. Yeah, so this tutorial we just basically learned about colliders, why moving objects need a collider, and also a rigid body for the collision to work properly, okay. Static objects, that is objects that don't move, they don't really need a rigid body, they just need that's not the one. They just need a collider, okay. We have also learned how we can layer items, and also how we can reduce the computational computation using this physics 2D, where we can turn off all the other collisions, okay. Hopefully you guys learned something, and as I said, this is not for anyone who has done a lot of Unity, it's for someone who's just starting out with Unity. Yep, I will see you guys in the next lesson. Bye bye.